Hey everyone, we're going to do a hair jig today. This is something I really like, and this is a 3 season deal. This is fall, winter, and spring. Um, we're going to use Arctic fox fur, not to be confused with Arctic fox tail. Um, the Arctic fox tail is longer and a little more coarse, while the Arctic fox fur is shorter and softer, more like more like a real fine craft fur. So anyway, before I ramble too much, let's get started here. In the vise, we have a 1/8 ounce football head with a 1/0 VMC 7249. This is a 1X strong hook, and I've gone over this one before, but I I like this hook a lot. I make this same jig, by the way, in a 2/0 as well, with the same 7249 and an 1/8 ounce. So the color is purple smoke, and that's all this is a purple smoke minnow. So we're going to get started here with a little bit of a super glue brush on, just ding right on the collar. And we're going to use 210 denier flat wax nylon thread in gray. I go right down to about the middle with this, just a little above the hook point. It don't got to be that much further. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my tail. And we're going to use rabbit hair. This is a black barred gray zonker strip. And what I'm going to do is line this up and take it out of the vise. And we're going to do the old punch the hole in it. And the reason, like, I used to tie this on the back end, and you could do that, but what I was having an issue with was on the cast, I would sometimes, it would get fouled. And I found it this way doesn't hurt the hookup ratio at all. And I don't have that issue with it getting fouled, like literally the back end of the rabbit strip coming over and um, getting on the hook point. You don't want to do that. That's like asking to lose a fish. Okay, now I'm going to trim that back end off. See, that's another reason for doing it ahead of time. I could tie this in first and then turn around and find out I have uh, too much slack. Pull some of that hair off. I'm sorry. This happens. Anyway, we got our tail positioned. Got a lot of loose hair. I don't normally take the hair off the end of the strip. I just tie over it. I haven't had a problem with it slipping, but that's mainly due to the fact that we're tying this a little further down than just on the end. If I was just tying the end of it, I would probably strip some of the hair off that hide. Okay, our tail's in, and now the next part of our jig here is this. This is purple polar chenille. And I don't know why, but it always, all the purples always seem like blue on my camera, and I couldn't tell you why. You just make sure your fibers are pointing backwards. I do this for two reasons with this polar chenille. Um, this is works as my flash. So I'm not adding any strands of flash. That's what I used to do before I got this material. But I would always tie a chenille underneath because I want to cover the threads up, number one. And number two, on a jig like this, I cut the barb off, and this will allow me to create a stopping point like you would if you had a ring, or um, like a just the end of the collar. You don't have that. Uh, so I'm going to create my own stopping point, just like you would if you had a ring and barb. It looks pretty good right about there. Now, we're going to use, like I said, the Arctic fox fur, and I'm going to use gray to begin with. This is really nice stuff. You have under fur, so it is, you still have to get some of that stuff out of there. And all I'm going to do is line this up so we're just a little bit past the hook point. This is a material too that a good scissors will go a long way, just because it's so soft, and every time you go to cut it, it wants to just follow the blade rather than having the blade slice through it. So now we're going to get our fur distributed. And don't worry if you get a couple strands of that polar chenille. You can always tie around that, and now you just have a little bit more to go. Boy, there's a lot of underfur on this one. I thought I got it out when I cut it. Evidently I didn't. Yeah, see, that's all through there. Pull, and that's how you know when you got it. Pull it, and when nothing comes out, you're good to go. Just a little bit shorter, square it off. It's one of the things when you're doing these smaller hair jigs with this Arctic fox fur, you got to be really cognizant of that underfur, because if you tie it in with the underfur, you make like a heavy jig, real thick, and you could do that if you want. It's not an issue. Now we're going to take a little bit more of this gray fox, and I'm going to make sure I get all the underfur out of this. I thought I had it the other one. Evidently, I didn't do it with that piece that I cut, so I went to tie it in, and sure enough, everything started pulling out. Okay. I just stuck myself with that hook. Boy, is that sharp. That looks pretty good so far, but now we're going to put the finishing touches on this. Purple. And I know it looks blue, but it's purple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to separate this into two halves. Now with this is like a cape or a shroud, if you will. Um, we're going to be shorter, about the middle of that, about the middle of our body. I don't know. Some days I struggle with this stuff. Some days everything goes super quick and clean. Now I've been tying a bunch of these up for myself. That's what made me decide to do a video with it, because I thought, boy, um, these are coming out really good today. And then just like normal, I go to do a video and I start having, minor issues with the under fur and trying to hurry up, not taking that stuff out of there. So I make sure I double check from now on. And you don't want, like, with this shroud, when I do this, I do it with a lot of different materials. Like I'll do that with bucktail, where you tie it almost as a layered element. You'll have one color, and then you halfway down you put another color over top. You just got to get that last little bit over. Might have it a little too tight. There we go. Less is more. Remember that. And I had my thread slip down on me. That was me pushing on it to get the purple where I wanted it. Make a real good collar on this. Make sure our material doesn't get pulled out. And we'll whip finish. And put our head cement on and we'll be done. I didn't even count. I just did a bunch of them and a little bit of Sally Hansen's, and then I'll show you what we have. I can hear geese going over now. The geese come, and then the next day it's bitter cold out. So you never know what's going to happen. Now, let me get my clamp, and I'll show you what we have. And I'll watch because the Sally Hansen's isn't completely dry. Now you can do this one on a lot of different heads. I do this like on the freestyle head if I intend to swim this. But when I want to drag them, I like them on a football head or that little arky head. But there you have it. That's our Arctic fox. And that, like I said, that's a 3-season deal there. There you have it. Purple Smoke Arctic Fox Fur hair jig. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.